someone to go with them?
There's a couple of critical errors in that. One is not to kneel in the product or the foam blanket. And of course, ideally, you wouldn't even go in the foam, but that's not practical.
You need the firemen put out fires.
Welcome. This is American Heat, a video magazine dedicated to the men and women of the fire, emergency, and rescue services. I'm Don Marsh.
And I'm Ron Barber. Every month, American Heat will offer you a unique blend of news and features that will up you on everything from the latest technology, major fire and rescue operations from the past month, the latest products from the manufacturers, interviews, and stories from the field.
Wherever there's news being made in the fire and emergency services, American Heat will take you there. In short, American Heat will be letting you see for yourself the types of things that up until now you could only about. We welcome you and look forward to a long association.
Don, late last year, one of the worst traffic accidents in California history turned Interstate 5 near Sacramento into fiery chaos for a time. American Heat's Stephen Ray says professionalism and expertise of the Sacramento firefighters and rescue workers saved many lives.
Right at that too. What started out as a simple grass fire in the median ended up causing a 37 vehicle. People died. Apparently, smoke blinded some of the motorists. Here's what happened. The dead crushed, mangled, or burned. But firefighters happened to be nearby at another fire. That may have saved lives.
I attribute that to saving many lives. The apparatus operator of the engine crossed the southbound lanes of the freeway and immediately pulled an inch and a tank line and began extinguishing the automobiles that were involved in fire.
40 were injured. Many suffered back injuries, but another stroke of luck. The Foothill Ambulance Company had recently put its emergency support vehicle, stocking it with extra support boards, dressing, and dozens of other items needed in a major emergency, plus a new communication system.
The equipment inside the vehicle was immediately deployed at the scene of the emergency soon after its arrival. The communication system was removed, and communication efforts were started right then with Sacramento Center, which is disaster control, as well as with the county services.
Good luck may have saved lives, or you could say it was good preparation. Expensive, but good. An even stronger force may have saved the lives of two women caught in the accident. Their car was crushed like a beer can, and rescue workers passed it by thinking no one in there would be alive. But they were.
I could only move like about a half inch in all directions. My hands were the only things that could move.
I only had a little space for myself, a little Cracker Jack box.
And the horn, I started honking the horn so at least they would realize that line there.
You realized then that they probably thought that under there.
And they did. As soon as I started honking the horn, they came over.
And she kept going, yeah, maybe they'll hear us.
And I was telling them I was having difficulty breathing. And they told me that if I stopped yelling, that it would help my breathing more.
I was going hurting too much. I go, please hurry.
If it hadn't been for God, we wouldn't have been.
Good luck, bad luck, good preparation. Those elements gold on Interstate 5. Firefighters and rescue workers could only control one. Although it'll take to come up with an official cause, there's a guess that people headlong into a cloud of smoke, one right after the other, had something to do with it.
The preparation of the Sacramento area fire and departments is typical of the pride that the women's services take in their work.
Occasionally, however, best-laid plans go astray. Recently, at a sticker crash and fire near ago, one fire department was busy blanketing the bed with foam. Another was merrily washing it with water.
And a reminder, America's Month from John Sation, instructor for the University of Missouri Fire Training Camp. Don't forget the little things when using foam to fight a blaze.
In case you're interested, that's got an AFFF blanket on it, but a hex underneath it. You see what the H to do. AFFF blanket burning right off of that hexane.
John Sation set up a controlled demonstration to show the burning liquid is gas. Station lead in with the proper equipment.
they would normally wish a foam nozzle as opposed to a water nozzle. That will give you anywhere from 1 to 2 times the effectiveness. The other types of nozzles work, but the foam nozzle, which sometimes has been considered an antique, has been proven to be the most effective. Secondly, you'll notice they're applying the agent in a very calm and controlled manner. They're allowing it to work its movement, and they're applying it steady pattern. They're applying it, that key thing. Also, they're a little bit off-side and they went back work them.
What are among the most common sins like?
Probably 2, and I would say is too hurried an apple and nozzle around while that. And secondly, is tie water to the fire after started applying foam. As we see also, once you have them on there, if a water application, it washes the foam away, and the foam has been used is completely negated. Go ahead and use your fault. We've used a little 30-gallon-a-minute nozzle. In the real world, a gallon-a-minute nozzle or bigger will be appropriate size. About 5 gallons. A real tanker will take anywhere from 120 to 180 gallon foam concentrate. That is a significant investment on the fire department.
Keep it extraordinarily important situation like this.
Yes, really, the firefighters who are on the knob have to really know what they're doing. They have to pull down and count to 10, take them, because if they waste that foam, it's gone. It's like pouring it down the drain.
Sometimes it will take several minutes for the foam to take control of the fire, but with provocation, it will work. A final, and a very critical one, keep a full eye on those flames, potentially beneath or behind the wreckage of the tanker. Station says there are more flammable hazardous materials being hauled down our nation's highways than ever before. He says that means a growing career in volunteer firemen know how and when to use them.
It took 6 persons, a mother, father, and 4 perished at Rockford, Illinois. It was one of the most tragic fires in Illinois City, for few was lost. America was there. It was the mood for firefighters. It was smoke, and the family was choking.
It was kept here for a little while.
Again and again, rescuers pulled victims from the house. Fire was applied, and one little boy could be saved. An old but sad story. Home was detected, but the batteries for those detectors.
America, for Christ's sake, we have more fire deaths in America and more damage than any country in the world. Japan. Standard housing and everything else. They don't have the fires. They don't have the fires as we have. They don't have fire deaths. Sure. Over there, when you're on fire, you go to the slammer. Now you proved accident, and you pay for the damage to the guys next door. We have fires here, and who cares? Building gets on fire, the people run, right? The crazy firemen run in. It's all a big game. There's no penalty for having a fire.
The American ride through a part of history, going for a quick run through time, courtesy of the Public Safety Company of St. Louis.
Start the parade in 1960. This American La France is the class of pre-World War I day.
The trouble for 1,060.
How fast would it go?
50 miles an hour. 50? 50 miles an hour. It would be able to carry 6 men. Doesn't quickly.
10 years later, this Arons was at the Vanderbilt family estate.
The engine is almost twice the size. Pumping capability is twice what the 1910 was. Has an enormously complex on it. 1910 had a rotary pump. This has a piston pump, which is a very, very efficient pump. It'll develop pressures of probably 600 or 700 pounds. In every respect, this was Cadillac, Rolls-Royce, or equipment.
This is the forerunner of today's equipment.
This is a 1949 Mac, which in every respect is a modern. The 1983 Seagrave presents pretty much the current of the art both in engine design, and also in warning lights and sirens.
Ken Key is the chief engineer for Public Equipment, a company that produces 3 and Force 4 light sirens emergency vehicles. Menke enjoys these trips through. A Harvard-educated man, Menke created educational toys. These toys are big. That education comes in handy. Through the years, the lights and sirens have been high-tech.
And when you say that light bars are the state of the art, what do you mean?
What I've tried to do is to find a variety of optical elements so that we distribute throughout the entire circumference of the vehicle. One of the problems with the trucks is they're very tall. And the lights on the roof, while effective at a distance, tend to go over top of the automobiles. To cut that, we oscillate the note, which is intended to go through the rear window and have the light back off the rear view mirror. This is a bar that we have 2 of our Stingray elements in. What we've been able to do is use an electronic module that allows us to operate in free mode. We can direct the light to the rear of the vehicle in a low-level signal. So you're just sitting along the road and you want to avoid people rear-ending you. Alternatively, you can get unit and make it 300 degrees if you're holding an intersection. But more importantly, when you're a rut, we can take and inject it to the front of the vehicle and really basically we've been able to integrate the latest in optic into a case where it's cheap to manufacture, durable, resistant to abuse. Fundamentally, when you light, you want a product that works when you need to have it. And it doesn't matter that it's 40 below zero. You pull the switch and you expect it to work.
However complex, the sirens are still a simple, direct method for saying, get out of the way, working through. You can't fire unless you get there safely.
And getting you there safely, Aim Driving School at Hutchins, Texas. It's the National Academy for Professional Driving, designed course specifically for the drive of fire trucks and ambulances. The Academy says the program can dramatically reduce accidents.
Basically, only 3 things a vehicle can do: go, stop, turn. Any movement is a combination of these 3 basic movements. Let's look at go. Often, people think that go is fast. That's not only dangerous, but it's not the quickest way to get where you're going. Go starts with acceleration, and the key here is smoothing. If you're automatic, press down on the accelerator. If you've got a standard, let the clutch move. As you feel it to engage, key action even until the clutch is all out. If you don't, there could be. If you pop the clutch on a manual mission or power the accelerator, the jolts the vehicle and everyone on it. The entire vehicle is in shock. The vehicle is out of balance. Your tires are not providing as much as possible. Not driving efficiently, and you're losing time. 3.50 seconds. One simple rule: keep your feet slow, squeeze the accelerator. We know the adrenaline's pumping, want to get there quickly. But if you quit, you've got to be 3.21 seconds. A few tenths of a second sound like much, but those fractions add up in a hurry. Movements are not only hard on the equipment, but also cost you valuable time. As you can see, smoother, quick.
There's been a lot of controversy of the quickest way to stop a vehicle. Now it really works. This engine is being driven at 40 miles per hour. At the first cones, the driver hits brakes as hard as possible, locking the wheels. This is potentially very dangerous, for all steering control is lost in a locked wheel skid. Many people think to stop is to pump brakes. Using this technique, the driver was able to stop the vehicle more quickly, but it still took the best way to stop a vehicle, or almost vehicle for that, is to apply to the point of incipient skid. That is just before the wheel, and hold that pressure. Compared to the stab technique, braking to the incipient skid shortened the distance about 10 feet, and over 20 feet shortened when locked.
From the moment you start the truck, you are steering it. The smoothest, most efficient way to steer is while shuffle steering. Now, I know it's going to feel weird when you're at, but let me assure you, best way. You may originally been steered from the 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock position, so try that a couple times. That movement tends to pull your tricep muscles. These are the muscles in the pier. Now, to move down to the 3 o'clock at night, you start working your biceps and you start working your forearms more. You get a smoother motion and turn back and forth. Now, instead of an imaginary rope, we're going to assume there's an imaginary line that runs the steering wheel from the 12 o'clock to the 6 o'clock. Turning wheel, the right hand must stay on the right side and the left hand on the side. For example, if we want to turn to the left, we turn the top wheel and we wheel through our hands, right, turn back to right to left. At the time, our hand past the center or the imaginary line on the steering wheel runs between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. As you can see, you can shuffle very smoothly, make the piece of a do whatever you do. Made us an emergency vehicle, but we have to force our way through traffic. Are asking for permission to pass. If you should force someone on the road or collide with them, you may be legally liable for that. That facility, as well as agency, builds stress and the effects of stress measured. Bob was hooked up to a device that monitored his blood pressure. His pulse was 65 when we started. As we rolled the siren, his pulse jumped. And when we added a little bit of acceleration, it jumped even further.
Responding to a call, bills. So will be intense. The first sign is a steering wheel in a stranglehold. Secondly, a drive to ignore things that are directly line of sight.
How do you handle it? By being aware and being part of the routine. Skates, add hand eye checks. Mirrors, your hand. Look left, look I'm here. By being with it as part of the routine, you take a stress out of the situation.
Almost everyone could drive defensively. When driving to an emergency, however, you also have this means driving so you can position rather than letting other movements. This doesn't mean getting principles of defensive driving, learning an additional set of.
You have to create what we call the offensive safety. When traveling down the road, objects to create an imaginary bubble of space around your vehicle. You also want the vehicle to appear as big and prominent as possible to traffic around you. Obviously, you must have your siren and your light, but if at all possible, you should also try to occupy the extreme left part of your traffic and maintain this position.
By establishing this position, your equipment will appear much louder in the mirrors of vehicles ahead of you, persuading drivers to pull over. This position will also be more visible to on traffic and help convince them to pull over as sometimes it is so heavy that the only way is to cross the line in the opposing lane. If you do cross, you'll be extra alert and account for all protections. People will do strange things when confront fire apparatus on call not give you light to cross over into lanes of oncoming force vehicles off the road. Your lights are silent and your actions asking for permission.
The most important piece of equipment to put in your mind. Think about your remember, slow and smooth quicker. Create an offensive safety lane. Steer. Don't lock brakes. Remember, your hands.
The true way of measuring the fire department is by its training program. And I don't like training, because training is step. Left, right, in the Marine Corps. This ain't the Marine Corps. What we want to do is teach people how to think. So when you run into a set of circumstances, come up with a solution, tell you what's wrong. So tell me when I see what's wrong too. When you talk in training, take the Kellis, New York, and they're tough. The first department. Type of gun or roller, can be modeled many times, collapse easier, loud, come out. They don't fire, it's Brooklyn, and you start writing and stuff. And all of a sudden they become X-Men. They haven't, we get good like that, and we get the guys, not but good on the top. And you can rewind these two, and then you got.
Sometimes a good job can be hindered by equipment and a weak support system. That was the case recently in Tijuana, Mexico, when the San Diego Fire Department called in to assist our neighbors to the south. It was one of the rare instances American called upon to help firefighters in another nation. A column of smoke above the U.S. border. An electric circuit touched off a 6 explosions in a paint factory. 14,000 square feet also housed a lumber company and hardware store.
Hay explosiones por los hay varios tibores de containers that have been exploded.
Tijuana brought 200 firefighters to the scene. Mexican troops responded to handle the crowd, but there was inadequate water system. San Diego, but even that wasn't. Seeing all this, one news reporter from San Diego held this report.
It takes courage to fight a fire as big as one has, and you have painfully little back at it. There are air tanks and masts around, and firefighters dangle on the top of the middle of toxic smoke with nothing more than a surgical hoses with an impotent stream of water dribbling the flames. Not inside fate, the fire can be knocked down. It takes courage to fight a fire without the modern techniques. Standing under a ball, knock a hole through is injured. The wall could fall at any time. There could explode. These firefighters were like.
One of the big problems with fire in Tijuana, not just this fire, is getting her to the flame. There isn't enough hydrants, no system of water to the fire to be trucked in. In this case, a lot was trucked from San Diego.
San Diego and Tijuana have an informal agreement. When up today flared up, help from San Diego is no more than a phone call away.
Take it in a situation like not a surprise that there's no. So the problem is an ongoing water situation here in Tijuana.
The 3 tankers from San Diego found it quicker to return to the U.S. every time they fill up.
Fortunately, there were serious injuries, and the paint factory was not.
Like just everything else, there's tough competition of fire equipment. Even the little guy have to be big on quality. Could depend on it. At tiny Freebird Towers, Fire Apparatus Company carries on a tradition of handmade fire. The folks of Breeze, Illinois have a brand new pumper tanker of their own. Even its undercarriage as it rolls out of the shop. It's fresh paint justice as the new truck noses on a long country road heading for its new. It takes about 10 to 12 weeks to make one fire truck here. Towers Fire Apparatus will turn out 35 this year, each and every one handmade.
We sit down with the customer and try to determine his needs. In other words, I try to get the customer to tell me, what do you need? He knows his area. He knows what fires he's got to fight. So I try to get him to tell me what his particular needs are. And then we go from there. And just send him a confirmation purchase order.
Bill Towers took over the business from his father, Eugene, who started custom designing fire trucks when demand for them soared after World War II. The company deals with small community for the most part, but it's produced some innovations through the years, like color-coded instrument panels and built-in lights.
Come out with power-operated elevating porch lights. There's nothing so dark at a fire scene as you put the fire out, and everybody's stumbling over hose and everything else. These lights, they go up in the air, extend about 14 feet off the ground. They're 500 watts each, and they flood up the whole area, and it works beautifully.
Towers Fire Apparatus employs just 9 production workers. But Dale Towers says they are all specialists. They're specialists because once they come to work here, they stay.
We feel so. Our youngest man right now has been with us about 10 years. Our oldest employee has been with us over 30 years now. So once we get a man in the plant, we try to keep him because it is specialized work.
People here will tell us it's not ordinary work. They say it is the beginning of the experience runs through the firefighting and rescue community. Experience that will save property and lives.
As far as quality, of course, I'm partial.
Go ahead and be partial.
I think we rate right at the top.
Well, prices on those rigs can start at around $50,000, a fair piece of change for any small city. However, the investment could well last 25 years or more. Name Towers on it, you know the quality is assured.
Well, if you want to sit out the war, you won't want to get into Chicago's Squad 5. Trucks there almost certainly won't last 20 years. At one of the nation's busiest firehouses, 1,500 to 2,000 runs a year is typical. Steve was there for American Heat and said he found a busy, happy house.
Into the cold night, Squad 5 is rolling again. Down 70 onto the Dan Ryan Expressway, the squad and so scream and blast across Chicago's side. It is true. You don't sleep the night during winter. Not
Okay, we gotta go. Your brother in that section.
This is one of Chicago's busiest firehouses, but the men like it.
Normally, we at the average 6 to 8 rounds a day, which, and out of that, 4 fires, good. This is our busy season now.
We got busy when the heating season went cold. And as you start getting into March, you're thinking that there's going to be a break in the action, that things are going to slow down. And it never gets to the point where it's too busy, but you start thinking, gee, this is getting to be a lot.
They get along well, work well together. This house is appreciated by the community and by longtime professionals like Battalion Chief Bill Farad. He is eager to say frontline fighters like those in Squad 5 who do the work. And sometimes the top brass just gets in the way.
What do we need? The biggest boss is standing out in front of the fire. Firemen put out fires. You have to have the firemen. Without firemen, you'll never put out a fire. I'm a chief for a long time. One of the senior chiefs in this job. Up at the top and on the bottom, back down on the bottom again. You need the firemen. Firemen put out fires. Either Brute put it out, they'll shut and put it out, but they'll put it out. I never seen a chief of my fire out.
In the dead of winter, Squad 5 keeps...
Is this happy house a typical house?
We'd like to still Don, but of course we're not. In some houses across the nation, very few houses, fighters won't even talk to each other, won't eat together. Yes, Squad 5 in Chicago is unique, busy, and happy.
That is this edition, American, our first. We welcome ideas or suggestions that you might.
Don, we feel American is indeed a pioneering venture of sorts for the first time video and information for the fire, emergency, rescue services. And as Don indicated, we'd very much like to know what you think. Our special innovations, stories, or people you'd like to add to American Heat. Please do drop us.
Thanks again for letting us share our program with you. And for next time, we'll be watching you on American Heat.